Top 10 Monsters or Kaijus who have kicked Godzilla's butt. For many, Godzilla has been an entertaining monster feature packed with action and nail-biting moments. However, there's much more to the storyline that developed into one of the longest-running movie franchises in the world. The first movie, Godzilla, was directed by Ishiro Honda in the year 1954. And the political and social influence is clearly seen in the work. The idea derives strongly from the horrifying state of Japan after the Second World War. The destruction following the nuclear explosions was a shocking reality check on what weapons of mass destruction are capable of. From 1954 till today, there have been over 30 Godzilla films with varying contexts that have bolstered the Kaiju genre. Some explore the political angle, while others focus more on the dark themes of haunting mythological monsters. The role of Godzilla varies as well, from a protector of Japanese values to an agent of unthinkable destruction. We have also experienced several other monstrous creatures and aliens in Godzilla flicks. It's fun to watch these gigantic beasts in action and take on Godzilla at times. In this video, we have picked the monsters that have managed to get the better of Godzilla, if only temporarily.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
ORGA. Imagine the most grotesque monster in your head. Now multiply that by 10 and you have ORGA, which is easily one of the creepiest kaiju. In fact, ORGA is not one creature, but a group of aliens who have been fused together. The horrifying teeth lining the mouth, the mangled fleshy body, and the eerie anatomy makes this creature stand out among the worst enemies of Godzilla. ORGA fighting Godzilla has some of the most brutal exchanges that will please the action lovers. The great powers of ORGA were handy while battling Godzilla, and it wasn't easy to face the deadly plasma spit or the wave motion beam. In fact, Godzilla had to embrace a few setbacks in the fights, and only after a brutal battle could it in the end finally defeat ORGA. This monstrous alien kaiju possessed the strength of Godzilla, and his regenerative abilities made him extremely dangerous. Imagine battling an enemy that heals itself after you cause significant damage. One of the reasons behind attacking Godzilla was that ORGA wanted to engulf him completely and absorb his characteristics. The idea of the Big G defeating ORGA is also fairly unique, where he allows him to start swallowing him head first, then unleashes the shockwave of atomic energy that destroys ORGA. GIGAN. There is a rich history of kaiju in various shapes and sizes. Some will remind you of some gigantic prehistoric animals, while others will seem like your worst nightmares. GIGAN is a mixture of the two and is an artificial kaiju created by aliens. The deadly claws and brutal strength make it a hellish journey for its enemies. And after a scathing attack, it can grind the enemy with its belly-mounted buzzsaw. GIGAN becomes all the more invincible with its ability to fly and shoot dangerous razor discs at its foes. During the Showa era, this intimidating monster faced off against the King of Monsters multiple times. Despite the strength and size of Godzilla, taking on GIGAN proved to be quite a task. It first appeared in the movie Godzilla vs. GIGAN, and this alien cyborg is considered to be one of the most capable opponents that Godzilla had to face. Later, in the film Godzilla Final Wars, GIGAN was rebuilt with a new head after being decapitated by Godzilla during their last encounter. The abilities of this monster were further enhanced in the video game versions, but for the Final Wars movie, he was shown to be somewhat incompetent. Overall, through the numerous appearances as both friend and foe, GIGAN has proved to be a potent opponent that must be awarded a place on our list. MECHAGODZILLA. When you consider the incredible strength of Godzilla, the undisputed king of monsters, it seems strange that some random monster would pose any challenge. This is why one of the most formidable foes Godzilla ever had to encounter was similar to it. This strange entity was built keeping the image of Big G in mind, and the first time we get to see this powerful creature is during the 1974 film titled Godzilla vs. MECHAGODZILLA. As the story goes, humans discover a prophecy that suggests the destruction of humanity at the hands of Kaiju. When Godzilla starts behaving strangely, the people are horrified, only to realize that it was a MECHAGODZILLA. It's portrayed as an alien cyborg monster that has enjoyed numerous appearances in Godzilla movies. The first 3 appearances show him to be somewhat of a robotic form of Godzilla. Built with space titanium, MECHAGODZILLA was simply too tough for Godzilla to decode. When it appeared along Titanosaurus, we thought Godzilla was doomed. Eventually, however, Godzilla gets the better of him, but only after teaming up with King Caesar. Keeping all their confrontations in mind, we simply couldn't keep MECHAGODZILLA away from our list. RODAN. What if one's best attack could add to their opponent's strength? That is precisely what happened when Godzilla was faced with RODAN. One of his most famous attacks, the atomic breath, was being used by RODAN to become even stronger and transform into Fire RODAN. The two monsters continue to spar against each other until the ultimate threat takes their attention. One of the first appearances for RODAN was in the 1956 movie titled RODAN. However, this film only showed 2 giant pterosaurs, and we got the best of RODAN in the movie titled GHIDORAH in 1964. When we remember RODAN, one of the first things that comes to mind is the incredible speed of the monster. Before you would know it, it would strike the fatal blow, and the destructive sonic boom only added to its capabilities. Its beaks and talons are also effective weapons for the creature. This creature is basically a mutant pteranodon, and the leather-winged reptile can fly at a crazy speed. In a way, RODAN represented the Russian nuclear threat, and it was awakened from an extended underground dormancy by nuclear blasts. Although it gave a tough time to Godzilla, in the later appearance in Godzilla vs. MECHAGODZILLA 2, it helps the King of Beasts by melting down on top of an ailing Godzilla. More recently, RODAN was seen in Godzilla Final Wars in a small role. Monster X. If you asked us to pick one of the most engaging Godzilla flicks, we would probably opt for Godzilla Final Wars. This movie was the last Goji film that Toho worked on in over a decade, and the fans anticipated a cracker. They weren't disappointed when several monsters were introduced to challenge the authority of Godzilla. One of the deadliest creatures from the lot was Monster X. This gigantic beast had an exoskeleton that covered much of his body, and this made him hard to attack. He was durable in battles, and his freakish strengths allowed him to lift Godzilla off the ground. Even when this monster was being molten into his final form, he continued growing deadlier. This bipedal dragon-like creature was a space kaiju that the Zillions created to make it one of their secret weapons. Monster X has a ghastly appearance with 2 half skulls on his shoulders, and 2 long horns alongside the evil red eyes. He can transform into Kaiser Ghidorah, and in this state, it has characteristics of both species. However, Monster X is not evil by choice, and he merely follows the orders of his masters. He even works alongside SPACEGODZILLA and proves to be a hardened opponent that Godzilla has to fight. Ultimately, Godzilla gets the better of him, but not before a nasty battle between the two. BIOLLANTE. Those who are aware of the origins of Godzilla are familiar with the fact that it was once a Godzillasaurus. Exposure to nuclear materials made it into the beast that it became. BIOLLANTE is different from most other monsters on this list because it is in 1 part plant, 1 part human, and 1 part Godzillasaurus. This crazy mixture worked up quite a lot of trouble for the king of monsters, and this intimidating creature first appeared in the movie titled Godzilla vs. BIOLLANTE that released in the year 1989. The film Godzilla vs. BIOLLANTE was when we saw the creature for the first time. For starters, the gigantic size of BIOLLANTE dwarfs Godzilla, a feature you don't usually get to see. With this tremendous size comes the insane strength that allows it to beat Big G to a pulp. We'll never forget the image of this unforgiving monster thrashing around the mighty Godzilla, who seems helpless against this beast. BIOLLANTE was genetically modified and made from Godzilla's DNA. Many people mistake her to be good because she aids humans in an attempt to defeat Godzilla. However, she has no regard for human life as such and was only helping out for her own motive. The destruction of BIOLLANTE was quite a spectacle, where Godzilla defeated the gigantic plant beast by causing a volcanic eruption that burned her alive. King Kong. Enthusiastic fans of this franchise are eagerly awaiting the power-packed upcoming Godzilla flick entitled Godzilla vs. Kong: Battle of Kings. However, we're talking about when the 2 giants faced off in 1962 during the Showa-era Godzilla movies. During this time, the themes of Godzilla flicks had changed drastically from the initial days. It was no longer the symbolism of the horrors of nuclear weapons, but turned into fun B-movies. So, what happens when an unstoppable force meets with an immovable object? Well, for starters, this interaction doesn't have as many fireworks as you would expect. For instance, when you get these 2 legendary monsters put together, you're looking for some serious fights. All you get here are some low-key interactions, including a baseball game that they play at one point. It shows that King Kong has developed incredible powers and almost gets the better of the Big G. While it was pretty interesting, we have higher hopes from the one that's about to hit the theaters in the near future. King Ghidorah. The moment we start thinking about the most constant enemy of Godzilla, King Ghidorah or Kaiser Ghidorah comes to mind. It seems like the dreaded Godzilla has finally met its match in the form of this 3-headed dragon. It's actually the final form of Monster X, and his extraordinary powers set him apart from the others. For instance, King Ghidorah has telekinesis powers that will blow your mind. Its tough hide makes him a formidable opponent, and he's the last enemy that Godzilla has to face in the climactic moments of Final Wars. Fans will always remember the moment where the undisputed king of monsters has to make a special effort to reclaim his throne. In the end, he had to blast King Ghidorah into space to overpower him. This 3-headed monster first appeared in the film Ghidorah. which was one of the brilliant works of Ishiro Honda. Since then, it has been hailed as one of the arch-enemies of Godzilla and makes repeated appearances. Although he puts up a brave fight on many occasions, Godzilla emerges triumphant. But this takes nothing away from this monstrous entity that is usually shown to be even bigger than Godzilla. For instance, in the movie Rebirth of Mothra 3, King Ghidorah is an absolute giant with a height of 60 meters and a wingspan of 80 meters. SPACEGODZILLA. Things become the hardest when you have to confront your inner demons. It was no different for Godzilla, and one of the toughest fights that it had to face was against SPACEGODZILLA, comprising of a force that was well versed with Godzilla's ways. The movie called Godzilla vs. SPACEGODZILLA was a revelation for fans who previously thought that their favorite Big G was invincible. He still proved to be so in this movie, but that required some costly sacrifices. So what is it that makes SPACEGODZILLA so powerful? Well, for starters, the ability to deflect Godzilla's energy attacks was brutally effective. Its healing powers were also impressive, and even after sustaining some serious damage, it was back to the fight in a flash. SPACEGODZILLA proved to be so powerful that it eventually took the combined efforts of Godzilla, Moguera, and Rodan to take him down. This is where the sacrifice comes into the picture, because one of the three wouldn't manage to survive the battle. Apart from the popular movie outing, SPACEGODZILLA also gained prominence in the Godzilla video games. DESTOROYAH. Does a demon from hell sound intimidating enough? Then the chances are that you would be amused with the visit of this famous kaiju to bolster the franchise. Its appearance is worth remembering, with the demon-like massive horns and its bat-like wings. DESTOROYAH is actually a microscopic organism that can take many forms. This kaiju was first revealed in the movie Godzilla vs. DESTOROYAH, and later on, it was also seen in popular hits like Godzilla Island. During its fights with Godzilla, one of our favorite moments is when it pushes Godzilla to the brink. It even successfully makes him turn weaker. The final form of this evolving monster is pretty scary, and it has bat-like wings and mean, large, curved horns on its head. Its tail with the pincer at the end makes its appearance absolutely devilish. The fans remember DESTOROYAH as one of the most merciless opponents that Godzilla had to take down. Unlike some other monsters, it is aware of its actions and the destruction that it causes. It takes pleasure in devastating everything around it, and it attacks Godzilla both physically and emotionally. It's almost satisfying to watch Godzilla destroy this monster by blasting the floral pattern on its chest with a spiral ray that causes it to bleed to death. Thus, it's no surprise that we saved this iconic monster to be our final feature.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.